Welcome once again to Worlds of Fun Reimagined with Planet Coaster. My name is Kevin. Thanks for stopping by. On our screen here, you see one of those iconic, classic, original Worlds of Fun rides. It was there when the park opened in 1973, the Schussboomer. And if you're not familiar with this type of a roller coaster, or if you never went to the park, obviously if you went to the park, you know all about this thing if you went back in those years. But it was built by a company called Schwarzkopf. The man's name was Anton Schwarzkopf, and his company built all of these metal, they called them Wildcat style, little small roller coasters. They weren't the world's biggest or largest by any means, but they were very popular. They were actually designed to be very portable, to be moved between different fair locations, different parks, what have you. Worlds of Fun bought this one, and they actually kept it in the park for 11 years. They kept it in the park till about 1984. A very important part of this roller coaster was something called the Big Break. And that is what we're going to add to the ride in this video. One thing about the Schussboomer, it was very unique in the fact that even back in the 70s and the 80s, most roller coasters had braking systems that involved electronics or air pressure or hydraulics or something like it, computers maybe even back then. The Schussboomer was different. The brakes coming back into the loading platform, it was all manual. There was no electronics anywhere. It was, because I know I worked at the ride for quite a few times. Basically, when you were coming to the end of the ride, you come around these last curves and back into the station, there was something called the Big Break. There was no electronics, no computers, nothing. It was just basically the employees standing there working a couple of levers on an actual manual brake in the track that slowed you down coming into the station. So that's what we're going to add today. Now in this game, in the Planet Coaster game, it's not going to have any effect on this ride in this park. So basically, I'm putting it in this ride just kind of for nostalgia, just to show you where it was and kind of what it looked like, as close as I can make it. It will have no effect at all on how this ride actually operates in the game. But it was just something about the coaster that was kind of cool. Again, just a very unique coaster in the fact that the brakes coming into the station was totally manual. It was totally dependent on a live person, a live human being operating these levers. So here we go. The Big Break, as you were coming around these curves back into the loading platform, the Big Break would have been right about here. And you can see in the game, in this roller coaster, that this is where the brakes are on this ride. The Planet Coaster automatically will have some brakes in there that they put in. But coincidentally, that kind of is pretty much where the Big Break was. So basically what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna build like a little platform right next to the track there. And that's about where the controls were to operate that Big Break. And we'll just kind of make it look like it's connected to the regular platform here, the regular loading, unloading platform. And we'll just kind of see what we can come up with. Here's a couple of poles that I found. These are about the closest thing I've found in the game that actually kind of look like what those levers looked like. So I've already got those kind of sitting over here, and we'll add those in when we get to that point. Let's build this platform first. Yeah, let's just go with this wooden platform looking thing. Kind of the cool thing about this game, you can just build something, and if you don't like the way it looks, you can always go back in and change it later. But for the purposes of what we're going to do here, let's just use this wooden platform here. I think this will serve our purpose for today anyway. All right, here we go. I really want this to look like that this is a part of that platform. So I do want to connect this somehow. Let's just see what it looks like if I just connect it right to the end. You know, that might not be too bad. We might have to get another piece because the actual big brake location, I'm going to put it right about here. So we may have to, yeah, we're going to have to extend this. Just make sure it's lined up. That actually looks pretty good. Okay. We obviously want this to be at the same height. Maybe just a touch. Just a touch higher. A little bit, maybe. All right, here we go. Okay, cool. I think we can work with that. Get him right there on the end. And now what I will do is I will just add on another piece to extend this. And I believe I can just copy this and just attach it. Not exactly what I wanted to do, but okay, you know what? This will at least make it level, like that one. And then we can just move this into place. Get it to the same height. That looks pretty good, pretty good. Okay. Match these up here. I think that's not too bad. Okay, so yeah, that'll be our platform for the big break. And actually, this really needs to be a little bit bigger. Oh, but look out here. We don't want to get into this. We don't want to be too close to this track coming around, do we? No. That would not be good. Nope. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of a change here. Let's just slide this. Slide it just a little bit so it's not too close to that track. There we go. That looks. We'll put him right about. Right about there. Okay, good. We're going with it like that. Yes, indeed. Now, as I mentioned, this does need to be a little bit larger of an area, especially right in this area, because that's where this is where you would have been standing, operating these levers. So let's just add another one of these platforms. And we'll just move it right into place here. Yep. That looks looks pretty level, and that looks like that's lined up pretty well. And now we'll just slide this out a little bit. So now, and again, I don't want to get too close to this track because obviously you don't want your employee getting nailed by a car coming around there, right? A lot of paperwork if that would happen. No good. Okay, so here we go. But we do want this to look, again, the whole idea is to make this kind of look kind of real, you know, like it really did exist this way. So let's move him. Let's move this platform. What does that look like? See, that's too close. You wouldn't have a platform being that close to that track. I'm going to say right about there might be as far as they would go with that. And then, you know, what else they would do is they would put up, for sure, they would have like a fence or some kind of a guard around this. And we'll add that. But I think that's about as far as I want to take that. Maybe even right there. Yeah, just to give that person a little bit more room while they're standing there operating these levers. Okay. We've got this track support, which we've got to have it because you got to have a track support there. As I recall, working at this ride, I don't believe this hill actually was like right over that part of the platform, but we're going with it in the game anyway. It doesn't have to be exact, but we just want to have the idea, the correct concept kind of going on here. All right, so here are my levers. And again, these are actually a lot larger, more, what's the word? Bigger around in circumference than the actual levers were. But in the game, these are about the closest things I found that kind of look like what these levers used to look like. So we're going to go with these. And let's just move them right over there. And they kind of, as they came out of the, they actually had holes in the platform, and these actually connected to the brakes, obviously underneath the track down there. And as they kind of came up through that platform, they didn't come just straight up like that. They did kind of lean a little bit. So we'll take care of that as well. Let's just kind of get them where I think they would have been. First of all, they kind of were right about there, as I recall. And they did kind of stick up, maybe even a little bit higher than that. Kind of like that. And the way this brake worked is if you just stood back and didn't touch the levers at all, these cars coming around the track would actually come to a stop in that brake. So the idea was, as the cars would come in, and it was a little different on every car, because like obviously if there was only one person in a car, that car wasn't going to be as heavy as another car that had 3 or 4, maybe even larger people. So every car was kind of a little bit different, and you kind of had to work that thing as to how much pressure to release on to get that car to slow down, obviously, but then to get on through that brake and on over to the platform so they could unload. So it was kind of fun working those levers. It was kind of a cool job at that ride. Had a lot of fun. I can tell you some interesting stories off when I'm not doing this. Some things that happened, or maybe they didn't happen, and maybe I'm just making it up. I don't know. No, it was fun. It was kind of cool working these levers. So here's where they are. We're going to put them right about there. Maybe move them a little bit right there. Okay, good. And as I recall, they kind of came up out of the floor at about that place. And then remember, they did not just come, they were not just straight up and down. They did kind of lean a little bit. So let's put that angle into them a little bit here. They kind of had an angle to them like that a little bit. And they weren't both exactly the same. It seems like I was a teenager, so this is a long time ago. But as I recall, they were kind of a little bit different. They weren't both at the same exact angle. So let's start there, and then let's say maybe this one tilted a little bit more, just to kind of give it some realism here. How about something like that? Yeah. There we go. So just imagine there would actually be, it was me quite a few times, but anybody who worked on this ride, you would have your person there working these levers and manually slowing these cars down as they came back into the station. So kind of a cool little thing about this ride. It wasn't one of these big high-tech things. It was just a basic, portable, if you wanted to move it, roller coaster. And it was just a heck of a lot of fun to ride it. I'm going to go ahead and add in some railings and stuff around this to make it OSHA safe, of course. But anyway, I just wanted to do this in this video real quick, just to give you an idea of where that would have been and what it was like working at this ride. And it was just a lot of fun. I hope that brings back some good memories for you. All right. Hey, by the way, thank you very much for all the likes and for subscribing. We love you, love you, love you. Thank you very much. This is a fairly new channel for me. We're just getting this thing going. And I hope you're having as much fun as we recreate worlds of fun here using this Game Planet coaster. Thank you very much again, and we will see you next time.